Winks looking for Trippier, who's in behind them again. There's another good ball, and there's the goal, and he's back in the Champions League, and back with a bang. It's Dele Alli for Tottenham Hotspur. What's what we do here? Dele Alli away from Casemiro, and still, and the deflection. Oh, he's done it again. The deflection helped. There's no doubt about that. But Dele Alli is the talk of the town for Tottenham Hotspur. Forget it now, Harry Kane. Nacho, the last man for Real Madrid. Eriksen's on his way. Eriksen's onside. Eriksen, 3-0. They're in dreamland, Tottenham now. The European champions are being taken apart at Wembley. And it's Tottenham Hotspur's night in the Champions League.
He only cost $5 million. He's better than Ozil. We've got Dele Alli. This is your E-Spurs podcast.
Come on, you Spurs! Come on, you Spurs! Come on, you Spurs! Come on, you Spurs! Tottenham, Tottenham!
Did that happen? Did that honestly happen? Did we beat Real Madrid last night? Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the E-Spurs podcast. My name's Dan Tracy, and once again I'll be your host as we talk all things Tottenham for the next 45 minutes or so. Now, to be honest, after the events of last night, my voice is a little hoarse. Truth be told, I'm quite speechless, which as a host of a podcast is not ideal, but thankfully I have two great guests on the show today as we dissect a wonderful night at Wembley. As always, I'm joined by my right-hand man, James McCarthy. James, how are you feeling after last night's result?
I think I'm the same as you. I'm absolutely speechless. It's hard to imagine that actually happened last night. We were at one point 3-0 up and laying around the twice European champions. You know, it's absolutely surreal and it really is something to remember.
And also joining us once again is Lucy Jones. And Lucy, like myself, was lucky enough to be in attendance. Lucy, how is the sore head today?
Well, because of the European rules, I only had one beer, guys. So it's okay today, but it hasn't sunk in.
Yes, I think that's the case for many, to be honest. I'll get the social media bits out of the way first so we can dive into all things Madrid. So, as always, don't forget to subscribe to the show via iTunes or Acast, and you can get every new episode direct as soon as it's released. You can, of course, follow us across social media. We're on Twitter and Instagram at E_Spurs. You can like us on Facebook at facebook.com/eSpurs page. We're also on YouTube, Pinterest, Tumblr. For all the links to all the eSpurs platforms, just head to our website at www.e-spurs.com. And if you'd like to sponsor the podcast, you can also email us at e-spurs@live.co.uk. And if you just stick in the email subject sponsorship, we can go from there. Also, I must apologise for the delay this week. Technical gremlins got in the way of our Monday recording, so unfortunately that one's been consigned to the cutting room floor. But if something is good, it's certainly worth waiting for. And what better time to do a podcast than after beating Real Madrid? So, let's get down to business. James, I'll start with you. Quite simply, and without getting ahead of ourselves, can Tottenham now go on and win the Champions League?
I think the sky's the limit. After last night, after absolutely battering what is considered to be probably the best team in Europe, why not? You know, I think that's kind of the opinion of most people now is why not? Why can't we go and do it? You know, you think no one ever thought Leicester would be able to win the Premier League, and that they kept that up for nearly a year, you know, winning and winning and winning. So if we keep on playing the way that we played last night, home and away, of course we're in with a chance. We're in with an absolutely huge chance of winning the Champions League. And I think that the players should have the same belief that hopefully the fans all have now too.
That was a listener's question from at Aaron_Race7. So big thanks to him for sending a question in. And Lucy, another Twitter question. This is from Hasspur92. He asked, is this the best Spurs win ever?
Well, I saw an interview of Poch after the game last night, and someone said this is going to go down in history. And Poch didn't talk for a second, and I think it hit him. It's huge, absolutely huge. I mean, I think I tweeted last night, Ronaldo hasn't been beaten at Wembley. They haven't been beaten in a group match like that for 5 years. Massive, historic, and we were there.
Yeah, we were part of history, I guess. in isolation, it's a great night. But James, ultimately, is it a result that will perhaps count for nothing if we don't have any silverware to show for it at the end of the season?
No, I think a result like this, you can never say that this result counts for nothing. You know, whether we go out in the next round, I'm pretty sure people are always going to look back at this result and think, just as Lucy said, you know, I was there. I watched that game. I was in attendance, or I was one of those 80-odd thousand voices screaming when Spurs beat Real Madrid 3-0, you know, 3-1, sorry. And you know, and I think whatever happens from now on, it's always going to be a game that I'll certainly remember. And you're right, and it's a game that I'm sure Pochettino and the players will always remember too. So, yeah, we have to believe that we can go on and win some silverware. We might be getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, you know. We absolutely smashed Dortmund at Wembley. We absolutely smashed Real Madrid at Wembley, and you know, who else is going to come to Wembley, and who else can we beat next? And that's what the question that we need to be asking ourselves.
Lucy, in terms of Wembley, is it fair to say it's not just a house, it's now home?
Certainly felt like it last night, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it also felt at home, and I'm going to say it, at the West Ham game. I felt a lot more at home. I wasn't sure if it's because it was half full, because obviously they shut the upper tier. But last night, I mean, I have to say there was a lot of Real Madrid fans around us as well. I think anyone just wanted a ticket for that game. But it was absolutely amazing. And as you said earlier, the Olé, every time you hit the ball, we just couldn't believe it. We were looking at each other saying, is this happening?
Well, exactly. If you're playing Olé football against Real Madrid with, 20 minutes to spare, something's not quite right there. But I think I was saying to James off the recording, but I went to the pub afterwards just to have a few sort of celebratory pints. But if you say beat Arsenal in North London derby, a pub would probably be rocking, like the walls would be shaking. But we're all in the pub, and it was just hadn't sunk in. It was like we're watching the highlights, and still it was just like a hushed silence, because I think everyone was just in awe of what has happened. But I think even now people are buzzing. I mean, I've got home, I couldn't sleep for about an hour or two because it was like a natural high. It was absolutely incredible. But James, with that result, will expectations now be increased? Does that now add more pressure to Tottenham this season?
I think people won't get too far ahead of ourselves. You know, we're not going to be called bottlers as we were before for not winning the Champions League now. It's a result to look forward to. You know, whenever we go ahead and play someone else now, we're always going to be looking at this game and saying, well, if we play as well as we played last night, there's not a team in the world that can stop us. That's a weird thing to think, that not a single team in world football can handle how well we played last night, defensively and attacking. You know, there's not a team that can handle us when we play that well. And so, you know, we've kind of, you could say we've shot ourselves in the foot, because you know, we might be expected to play that well every week now, and that isn't going to happen. You know, this is Tottenham. We've gone from losing to West Ham to beating Real Madrid in the space of 7 days, and if that isn't Spursy, then I don't know what is.
Well, exactly. What a difference a week makes. And I think the fact that we hadn't lost 2 matches back to back in across all competitions since February, when we lost to Liverpool and Ghent. And there's almost, I don't think we've been conditioned of forgetting how to lose, really, and it was almost crisis in inverted commas after the last sort of few days. But to get the win, you know, I wouldn't say they've forgotten, because it still sort of rankles slightly the way that we capitulated to West Ham and the manner in which we lost to United with that late goal. But you know, you can't really fault anyone's performance last night. Lucy, I know you've been slightly critical of Dele Alli as of late, but he came good last night, didn't he?
Dele's back, I think.
I think he is.
I wonder if that's been on his mind, because remember, it was his first appearance in the Champions League last night. He has been waiting for this. This is what he was born to do in his mind. You know, 5 years ago, he's playing for MK Dons. Now, he's just scored 2 goals against Real Madrid. This boy has been waiting for this. He's probably been frustrated. We know he flew out to Madrid. He watched the boys. That's how much this competition means to him. I think it's been on his mind. I really do, actually. I don't know what you boys think.
No, I think you're absolutely right, and I agree 100% with that. I think the concept of going to Madrid, it's great that he's gone and been a part of it, and because it'd be easy to stay at home and watch it on the TV, but it can't be a good feeling that to build yourself up to play these biggest competitions and not be a part of it. He needed that performance last night. I think that's going to that'll be the ignition that we'll need for the rest of the season. What's your take on that, James?
Yeah, I think you're completely right in that it's probably been in the back of his mind that he's missing out on these huge games. In the Dortmund game, everyone was absolutely bouncing. You rightly say, as we went to Madrid, and I'm sure he was really happy for the lads. But it's a game that he always wanted to be involved in, and it's the level that he wants to be playing at. And so it was probably, just a little niggle in the back of his mind. You could call that the reason for his drop in form. But now it's the complete opposite. He's come back, and if he'd had a bad game last night, there would have been calls for him to maybe not start Champions League games. Say, let's play Son instead, because we were winning without him. But it's a huge weight off his back that in his game back he's absolutely excelled, and he's back to being that hero that he was last season, that he has been for us at times this season. And we've got our talisman back.
Lucy, some I say non-Spurs fans are saying that all that Tottenham have done, they've beaten a bad Real Madrid side. Is that them sort of sour grapes from their point of view? Is there some truth in that, or did Tottenham just obviously beat what was in front of them, and it shouldn't discredit Tottenham's victory last night?
Okay, let's be honest about it. They weren't the best, were they?
No, they weren't. But
Lineker's gone in on them all day, hasn't he, on Twitter? I think we were great. We played great football. Look at that LA bit. We were playing one-touch football. This is what Poch brought into this club. I think we were amazing. I mean, we played great. They're just jealous. They're bored of watching Emmerdale and Corrie, you see.
Yeah, I think you're right. James, we talk about Harry Kane, and you can't really fault his contribution either, can you?
No, I've seen it. I've watched it already today. An individual highlights compilation of just Harry Kane, and it really went under the radar, the amount of work that he did last night. Same as Kieran Trippier. I thought he was absolutely brilliant last night. But Harry Kane, just because he didn't get on the score sheet doesn't mean that he didn't do anything. He worked really hard for the team. I think it's someone that we really missed at United was just that man in the penalty box who's always there. There was a huge gap up front that Llorente just didn't fill and Son didn't fill. Kane is that penalty box merchant that we do need, and the amount of running that he does for a centre forward, a lone striker, so to speak, is it goes completely under the radar.
He was a little bit off, though, was he not?
Well, I suppose you could say he was a little bit off.
You could see him pulling up a little bit. You could see that he had a little tiny niggle. And that's what me and all the boys were saying in our little bit. But he's amazing, end of. But he was a tiny bit off, not because he didn't score, but he just pulled. Did you not see him pulling up slightly?
I think
you're a tough one to please, aren't you, Lucy?
Yeah, of course I am.
I think you have to sort of take into account from what you're saying, Lucy, that if he's just come back from injury, he's got to be mindful of himself. He doesn't want to overexert himself to the extent where he's then out for, say, 6 weeks, 2 months, whatever. So that's probably playing in the back of his mind. But, okay, it wasn't a classic Kane performance, but ultimately it doesn't really matter because other people and players picked up the slack. So, it certainly rids the notion of Tottenham being a Harry Kane team last night. I think you can't really sort of argue too much further than that. But talking of another Harry, Lucy, Harry Winks, another great game from the youngster. Is he now sort of making that first team place his own? And regardless of who comes back from injury, is he one of I wouldn't say the first names on the team sheet, but does he deserve to be playing as much football as possible?
He's just such a grafter, isn't he?
Absolutely.
He's such a grafter. He absolutely deserves it. I think he will be benched at some point. But I think this is just a huge boost for him. Confidence is key. Poch putting that into him, starting yesterday, starting away, it's massive for him. I think he's brilliant.
And James, if there's one blot on the copybook, it was probably Toby Alderweireld's injury. Questions as to how long he'll be out for. The hope is that he'll be back for the Arsenal game. Probably won't feature, or actually I don't think he will feature at all against Palace. But say if he doesn't feature against Arsenal, I know it's going to be a massive blow, but have we got enough in the defensive ranks to see it through without him?
Yeah, I thought Eric Dyer was absolutely brilliant when he dropped into that back three last night. And I think that's a role that Dyer certainly can play. Obviously, missing Toby Alderweireld is going to be huge. He's such a fantastic defender. He's got such a great relationship with Sanchez and Vertonghen. He hasn't been as rock solid as he was last season. Vertonghen is arguably the better player now, which wasn't the case last season. And so it's not as big a miss as when we missed him last season or the season before. He was out for an awful long time, and Kevin Wimmer did a job. But yeah, you're right. It's a huge miss, but I think we've definitely got enough. Certainly in the form of Eric Dyer, who wasn't phased at all at the position change last night, and that means we've certainly got enough in midfield to fill in for when Dyer has to drop back. So for me, it's not too much of a worry. Obviously, it is a bit of a worry because of who he is and how important he is to the squad. But I'm pretty sure we can chop and change and we'll be all right.
And Lucy, talking of the other Belgian at the back, Jan Vertonghen, a masterful performance last night, do you not think?
Oh, absolutely. And I was just thinking then, as soon as Toby pulled up, by the way, it felt like we were down to 10 men as soon as he went off. I don't know what you guys think. It just felt like we were missing him. That's what we were all saying. But yeah, Jan was amazing. Oh, God, I love that man.
I think he's certainly
I just thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, well, he was brilliant. I think he's going higher in people's estimations even more. Like you say, James, I think Alderweireld has taken perhaps the lion's share of the credit over the last couple of seasons, but now Vertonghen is really sort of hitting his stride and perhaps matching it, if not even being better. And I think, obviously it'd be awful for Alderweireld to miss the North London derby, but it's not quite the crisis than, say, if Harry Kane missed the North London derby. So, swings and roundabouts, I guess, and injuries are part and parcel of the season, and we're sort of, unfortunately, learning that the hard way at the moment. But also, James, we've got to look at the bigger picture, the Champions League, not just beating Real Madrid. We've actually qualified for the round of 16 already. And I believe a point will get us to the top of the group, guaranteed. Is that a point we can get in Dortmund, or will we have to wait till the final group game against Apoel in December?
I think we can certainly go to Dortmund and bring it home. As I say, and I'm probably going to keep on repeating this, the sky's the limit for this team after this performance. We've set the benchmark now. This is how well we can play, and we can beat the best team in the world. We outplayed Dortmund at Wembley. We were brilliant against them, and so why can't we go away to Dortmund and do the same there? Maybe there might be a few changes. We can afford to rest players now, which is a luxury that we didn't have before. Dan, me and you were talking off air about how Chelsea have struggled on to perform on both fronts and on the Champions League and Premier League. That's because of maybe tiredness and changing the squad or whatever. But now it's a luxury that we have that teams like that don't have, because we've done the dirty work, we've done the hard work, and yeah, whether we get that point in Dortmund or have to wait, it's going to come anyway. And yeah, to qualify top of the group is going to be an absolutely amazing achievement for the so-called group of death.
Well, yeah, we're making a mockery of the group of death, really, aren't we? But Lucy, you can almost sort of say, professional pride is at stake when you go to, European matches. You don't really want to sort of play just a fringe team. But are Tottenham now afforded that luxury after last night? Will Poch make changes in Dortmund, or can you see still quite a strong team going out to Germany?
I think the last few games have proven. Oh, let's not talk about ones we lost. That we are flexible.
Yeah, don't mention that.
We're flexible, and that's what's exciting. We're not just a one-man team, as we proved last night. I think, as you said earlier, the way Dyer stepped back. I just think it's very exciting to see the team list come out now. I don't know about you guys, but I really enjoy waiting for it to see what he's going for. It's like a little mind game. I think we've definitely got everything to play for, and I don't see why we can't win the next few.
James, how big was the inclusion of Davinson Sanchez again last night? People questioned the fact he didn't play last Saturday against United. Some sort of perhaps intimate that that's part of the reason that we didn't get anything from that game at Old Trafford. But his inclusion yesterday, I felt, was a positive one, and he's almost looking like a Rolls Royce of a defender already. Yeah,
absolutely brilliant. I think the record shows that we certainly concede less goals when he's on the pitch to when he's off it, and so why shouldn't he be in the squad? The fact that he wasn't included against United was a bit of a weird one. You question whether that Martial goal would have gone in if Sanchez was there, but that's crystal ball time. You can't really predict that. But yeah, he certainly is an absolutely fantastic player, and it's these relationships all over the pitch that are making us a really special team at the moment. That back three have gelled together, and yeah, obviously we're going to be without Alderweireld now, but with Eric Dyer stepping in, I'm sure that they've got the same kind of relationship. And yes, and for me, Sanchez is probably one of the first names on the team sheet because of how well he's playing at the moment and how important he's become to the team in such a short space of time.
Lucy, what was your take on Moussa Sissoko last night? Because I know when Alderweireld got subbed off and Sissoko's name was mentioned, there's a bit of a bit of an audible groan around Wembley. But I was saying to James, he was solid enough, but I think he was one of those kind of performances where all he had to do was one job, which was help Trippier along the right-hand side. But it was a job he did well. What's your take on his performance last night?
It's just we've just got such a funny relationship with him, haven't we? You're so right. As soon as they put that board up and we saw Sissoko coming up, everyone was like, "Oh God, no!" I love the way at 40 minutes he went to kick the ball, but he started celebrating scoring the goal before he'd even kicked the ball,
Oh yeah.
which was funny.
Again, for the second time in a week. I don't know what goes through his head. He must have a rush of blood or something, because it was that kind of chance that, you know, by rights you should score. It should be 2-0. And then also at half time you think, I really hope that's not a chance that you really regret, because Real Madrid could then go on and win 2-1, and you pinpoint that moment and when Sissoko fluffed his lines again, you know, but thankfully that wasn't the case. But James, with Sissoko, but does that prove that he's now in the sort of inner circle of trust of the players that Pochettino can now call upon?
Yeah, I think he can certainly do a job. He does get a lot of stick, and rightly so. He was absolutely diabolical when he first joined, and yeah, the groans throughout the stadium were completely founded. You know, they were for a reason, because he was playing such bad football. But I think he's improved so much in a year. You know, I think Pochettino's absolutely worked wonders with him. And we were saying earlier how if Sissoko really was that bad and he was training awfully and he was playing awfully, then Pochettino would have shipped him by now. He'd be gone. You know, and so Pochettino must see something in him. And to be honest, I see it too. I think he can really make that centre midfield position his own if he keeps putting in his performances. I think I've always said that that's his best position is in that midfield too, rather than out wide, because he is such a big, strong, powerful runner. And I think, yeah, I think he's maybe not as good technically as the likes of Dembele or a Wanyama or a Dyer, but you know, I think there's definitely a place for him in this squad, and that hat trick is going to come at some point, I promise.
Maybe this weekend. We'll get onto the weekend in a bit, but James, you touched on Dembele there, which leads me into the next question. Lucy, are we sort of unfortunately now sort of seeing the end of Dembele as a sort of first team figure? Are we going to now sort of manage his minutes and just be reliant on cameos, sort of 20 minutes here, 30 minutes there? As good as he was last night, it's a shame that he'll never quite sort of get back to that sort of level that he was perhaps a season or two ago.
Oh, don't say that. It makes me sad.
Well, yeah, no, I don't take any joy in saying it, but I think unfortunately it's a sort of the realisation that we're coming to, and I think Harry Winks is probably the heir apparent, so it's not necessarily the end of the world, but it's a shame that injuries are starting to really take their toll. Do you not think?
Yeah, definitely. And I just love that replay of last night and watch it over and over again. Musa taking out two men and then getting booked.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
And Ramos didn't actually kick the ball. He just went in 2-footed and he still got booked. Loved it. Yeah, I don't know. Are we going to lose him, do you reckon, in January? Because he's not starting?
No,
I don't know. I really hope we don't.
I don't think he'll be leaving the club. You know,
but if he wants to play more football, why wouldn't he leave the club?
Well, I think he wants to play more football, but it's not the club that's letting him down. I think his body's letting him down, really. I think it's just a case that it's not really, you know, if he was a fully fit Dembele, he'd be knocking on the door. I think he'd be certainly playing much more, if not sort of every week if possible. But I just think that, you know, he's not even that old, really, but they're starting to add up, aren't they? And we're not quite seeing the best of Dembele. And, you know, you hope.
I mean, he's going up against Harry Winks, who's just come out of the womb. Of course he's going to be worried about it, you know?
Well, yeah, but then competition's health, isn't it? And that's exactly what you want in a squad that should be competing on multiple fronts. I know we're out the Carabao Cup, but we should still be sort of targeting just about everything else. And James, talking of targets, do we now look at this and think, do you know what? Let's put more eggs in the Champions League basket than sort of the Premier League, because Man City, they probably won't want to sort of officially say, but I know the title race has still got a long way to go, but they're a long way ahead at the same time. So do Spurs now look at this and think, do you know what, there's 12 games left to go to get to the final and win it? Is it a viable prospect?
Yeah, certainly. I think we've proved that we can compete on two fronts. We're talking about Dembele and Winks and how they're both vying for the same spot. Then why can't we compete on two fronts? Why can't we interchange these players and keep them both fit and compete for the Champions League as well as the Premier League at the same time? Yeah, you say it's only 12 games to get to the final. That's not that many in the grand scheme of things. The Premier League has got an awful long way to go, but you would probably say that Manchester City are gonna probably go ahead and win it. If Man City haven't played Spurs yet, and if Spurs play how we played last night when we play against Man City, then we're going to cut the gap even more. So you can't predict that kind of thing. You've just got to keep your fingers crossed and I hope we go for both of them, to be honest.
Lucy, what's your take on that?
I mean, as you said earlier, sky's the limit. This is incredible that we're even talking about this. You know, it just feels so ridiculous because we're so not used to it, are we? We can 100% go all the way. Why not?
Got to keep believing, and I think just the stature of where we are now. My friends, I met up with him at half time, and he said, "I'm so nervous," and he said, "I've never been this nervous since North London derbies, and he said that because usually with North London derbies, say, I don't know, even 5 years ago, we were perceived as the underdog, and then 2-3 years ago we're good as level, and now it's tilted in our favour. Arsenal fans won't like that, but admittedly it has, and now we're getting worried about being in front against Real Madrid. That is where we're at, and it's just like, if you take a step back and actually sort of let it sink in, finally let it sink in, you think, wow, like we said 2 weeks ago, players will be linked with Real Madrid, and they'll go, they went to the Bernabeu and they drew, and they think, hang on, we could be on something great here, and after last night, they're in something great.
I was going to say, as soon as we got the draw, we first got that group of death, I was worried, I was panicking. I said to my brother, oh my God, he went, no. This is the best result we could have had. We will up the game, we step up. Look at last year. We had an easy group and we absolutely went to pot. It was because the pressure was off us. The pressure's on us, and we step up to the plate when the pressure's on us.
Yeah,
I don't know if you agree.
No, that's an absolutely fair point. I think you're bang on the money there, because I think you can also couple that with the experience of last season. I think because it was just so cataclysmically bad, wasn't it? I think it was like, we can't make these mistakes again. But the Champions League, that is it. If you want to win it, by hook or by crook, you are going to have to face the best teams eventually. So why not get them out of the way early? There's a chance you might beat Real Madrid in the quarter semis, and so on if you get that far. But James, we talk about the transfer market and players getting linked with Real Madrid on a now regular basis. That win has got to put an extra few million on some price tags overnight.
Yeah, definitely. But it also shows that players don't need to leave Tottenham to be successful. The media constantly try and sell Harry Kane to Real Madrid week in, week out before we've even done it. And it just shows that it doesn't need to happen. These players can be successful at Spurs. We can compete on the top level. And so you don't need to make a big money move to a European club to have a chance of winning any silverware. Why can't we continue with the project, the Pochettino project that's going ahead at the moment, and it's absolutely rumbling along? Why can't we be successful as a team without losing our best players? Yeah, we lost Kyle Walker, but he was probably the most expendable member of last year's squad. So, I just don't think that players need to be looking at the likes of Real Madrid to be successful. Why can't we do it as a club?
Lucy, is this the kind of result that might sort of get into Danny Rose's head and think, do you know what? I don't really need to go to Manchester United. I could be part of something here. And also the wider question is, would he even get into the first 11 at the moment?
I don't know. I think we're proving that with Poch, we can achieve anything. I mean, look at Ben Davies. He's improved so much under Poch. If he gets, I think he really wants to help players. I think Danny Rose can be helped by Poch. I think he'll be neglected at United. Also, we don't have to win. I know we want to win, but these silverware, but these wins just prove to us, don't they, that we can compete with the best. I wonder what United thought last night.
Well, I think it's certainly laid down a marker, isn't it? I think, James, can we now be considered part of Europe's elite, or is that still a little bit too early? To beat the Real Madrid, I know it weren't a classic Real Madrid last night, but they've won the last two editions of the Champions League. Tottenham are sort of, they're pushing as high as they can in the Premier League. Are they in that top bracket, or are they still just like a tier below? We're
the best team in Europe, Dan. We're the best team in the world. And after last night,
I think that's how it works. If you beat the champions, you then become the champions, don't you?
Yeah. Just give us the trophy now. I think we should all we'll save everyone months of trouble. Just give us the trophy now, and we'll have it done with. If we played the way we played last night consistently, then the sky's the limit. I know it's kind of the theme of this podcast is that we're all very excited about where we could go now from here on in. It's going to be a bumpy ride, but it's why can't we go ahead and win things? We'll certainly be feared now by the rest of Europe. We weren't expected to even get out of this group, and we're probably going to top it. So teams are definitely going to be looking at us and thinking, Tottenham are a force to be reckoned with, and it's a bloody good situation to be in.
But also, Lucy, final Madrid-based question, and it's about the manager, our manager, Pochettino. His stock must have risen even higher last night after that win. The worry now must be that Real Madrid will be thinking, oh, hang on, we like the look of him even more.
I think he loved being with us. I don't think there's any worry whatsoever. I'm trying to be positive about this.
No, that's good. Positive's always good.
I think why did he come in? Last night he created history. That's his club. He's got us to this position. He said he did it for the fans. He did it for Levy. He did it for all that lot. I don't see why the hell would he suddenly drop that. I just don't see it happening. unless he misses the sunshine.
I'm sure, talking about Poch, I'm sure he's dyed his hair. Has anyone else noticed that? He has. He blatantly dyed his hair because it was like two-tone last night. Everyone in the pub was going, it's either that or some sort of like weave or something. So, but let's stop talking Poch's hair.
You can't be a
What do
bit
you
just
think,
for them.
Do you think that? Yeah. Do you think that he's going to leave?
No, I don't think he will. I think Real Madrid will obviously be very keen on him. I think the pressure's on Zidane, but I also think if you've won 2 Champions League, you've got a lot of credit in the bank. But then again, at Madrid, that also sort of counts for nothing sometimes. So in the immediacy, I think he'll be here certainly for, he's not going to go anywhere overnight or even the end of the season or whatnot. But you never know. Football is a funny beast, don't you? Spurs could finish 6th, 7th, 8th the next 3 seasons, and all of a sudden, it's not an attractive proposition staying in North London, and he wants to swap it for the sunshine. But that's a long time away. I wouldn't worry for now. I think we're certainly, like I say, we're on the cusp of something great, or we're in something great. So I wouldn't worry on that front. But being great is all very well, but it doesn't count for nothing if you don't beat Palace on the Sunday. James, will it be after Lord Mayor's show? Will it be the hangover, or will it be 3 points? What's your take on it?
I think the confidence in the squad's going to be absolutely sky high, and I think Palace are going to be in a bit of trouble, if you ask me. I think we're going to go out there, and if we play half as good as we played last night, even a quarter as good, we're going to absolutely smash them. And I'm really not too worried about Crystal Palace, I won't lie. And so I'm going to go sky high confidence and say that this is going to be a big win for Spurs.
Yeah, I think they need one in terms of sort of trying to break down these smaller clubs, because they've actually registered 20 shots on goal per game on average at home, which is impressive. But when you look at the goal tally, 0 against Swansea, 1 against Bournemouth, 1 against Burnley, 4, the anomaly was against Liverpool. But, they need to sort of now work out how to sort of break down teams like Palace. And Lucy, Palace are slightly resurgent in the sense that they got a draw against West Ham, dramatic draw, but they've got none of those points away from home. I think Hodgson prides himself on good home form, but it's sort of yet to work out what to do with Palace away from home. So surely Tottenham can't be worried at all, can they?
No, I think James is right. We're going to be on a high after last night. But remember, 2 weeks ago, they beat Chelsea. So they're going to feel like they are unstoppable. I think Poch is not losing sight of Sunday. He said that straight after the match. I'm really worried. I am worried, though. I don't know why. I am worried. And then that's being a Spurs fan, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that ultimately is the answer for it, really, because it would be so Spurs to roll over Real Madrid and then lose to Palace. We've seen it. We don't beat Real Madrid every week, but we've seen the sort of the highs and the lows in the space of a week, and it's just like one step forward, one step back. But James, you almost sort of need Arsenal to do us a favour on Sunday and try and get them to take points off City and redo our bit. So you sort of be a bit of a dirty sort of support, but is there sort of a possibility we can condense that 8-point gap at the weekend?
Yeah, well, it's going to be a bit of a weird thing to
exactly.
be cheering us. I'm going to feel a bit dumb. I have to have a shower or two afterwards.
Two showers at least.
They can certainly do us a favour. It's a weird old situation to be in, isn't it? But who'd have thought a couple of years ago we'd be asking Arsenal to do us a favour because we've got our eyes on the title. I think it's a great situation to be in, and it just shows how far we've come. I really do think that the Premier League is a viable option this year. I think we can do it. There's no reason why we can't. Man City are going to slip up at some point. They're not going to keep on playing the way they're playing. It's going to drop off at some point. I hope that this time round we'll be there to pick up the scraps if City do drop off.
I'll temper the mood slightly then, James. Worst case scenario, say if we're still 8 points behind City by the time we meet them next month, and then we lose and it's 11 points. At that point, would you say game over? Let's just focus on the Champions League. Yeah,
well, hopefully we'll still be in the Champions League at that point, and we are able to compete there. An 11-point gap would be a bit much to ask, So yeah, you are completely right there, and so we'll have to just win the Champions League instead, won't we?
Yeah, I guess the Champions League and the FA Cup, that'll do.
Yeah,
the double that way. But Lucy, I'll get a quick prediction for you for Sunday then.
Ooh. By the way, I predicted 4-0 last night, and I thought everyone was like, I can't believe it. All right, now Saturday, 5-2.
Wow, she's got really big. Wow. 5-2. Maybe.
I'm surprised you think that we're going to concede 2 goals.
And because Hugo will just get a bit tired, he wants a bit of a break.
Well, James, funny you say that, Lucy, because we touched on that in our Lost episode on Monday, didn't we? Because we said that Lloris, our theory is that he seems to be prone to these errors because he just switches off because his defence is so sort of good and solid that when he sometimes just goes, spill the ball sometimes, and he's something stupid. I think he just has these lapses, doesn't he, James?
Yeah, you can be forgiven. So I think we were saying last week that we sometimes forget that the guy's human, and so we expect him to save every shot and every ball because he makes saves that are just from another planet. And so when something actually goes wrong, it's like, well, what's going on?
Were you worried about him last night? Because we were when he fell down like that.
Yeah. Well, I think he would be a massive loss to the squad if you did lose him. But everyone kind of takes a sharp intake of breath whenever he's got the ball at his feet because his distribution isn't great. But I think we said it last week. He's earned us so many points over the seasons that I think he's due an error every now and again, and we can't criticise too much.
No.
I think he just also needs to stop rushing. He just needs to chill. We had the up last night, and he was rushing to get the ball out. He just needs to stop, chill, calm, have a croissant, and just relax, and then kick it out.
Yeah, that's good theory, actually. I mean, I think because he sort of set up that goal against Liverpool, I think he's now trying to sort of do that all the time. But you're right. Sometimes you just need to take the sting out of the game and just, calm it down. Because I think that even at sort of 3-0 up, Tottenham were then getting a bit frenetic, weren't they? And the Real Madrid they could sense an opening. I think even at 2-0, where there was that heart-in-mouth moment in the box where Ronaldo and Ramos were sort of clattering into each other, and the ball was pinging about, and Trippier got off the line. It was just like, oh my God, But thankfully, the ball stayed the right side of the line. And then minutes later, we made it 3-0, and it was job done. But James, I'll get a prediction from you, or do I dare even ask?
Yeah, I don't think Sissoko's going to score a hat-trick this weekend, actually. I think he's going to score 4.
4-0.
Yeah, I'm going to go 4-0 Spurs. That's my prediction.
And Sissoko's getting all 4.
Yeah, all of them. Yeah.
Right, okay. So it's going to be a goal fest, one way or the other, if one of you two gets it right. I'm going to be a bit more rational, and I'm just going to go for a miserable 2-0. So to Spurs, that is, not Palace. That'd be more miserable. What end to the wick that would be. But it's also the end of this show. So just need to thank everyone for the questions you've sent in. Do keep them coming. You can send them into the Twitter account at E_Spurs, or you can tweet me at DanTracy1983. Also, if you want to be on the show and get involved, same Twitter accounts, we'll get you on the show. Lucy, absolute pleasure to have you on the show again. We'll hope that you'll be on soon.
Thank you.
James, my right-hand man, thanks very much.
Not a problem. I'm at the game on Sunday, so if anyone wants to get in touch and have a pint before the game, then let us know.
Yeah, I'll see you in the fan zone at 9.
Nice.
Keen, I like it. Right, okay, that's it. So it just leaves me to say, my name's Dan Tracy. This is the E-Spurs podcast. Until next week, goodbye.
We won't give it up. We're gonna bring the cup back home to White Hart Lane.